and welcome back to GlowChat, a podcast about skincare, self-care and everything in between. I am your host Vic and I am joined by the founder of GlowFound, Claire.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest. We are joined by the founder of White Rabbit Skincare, Melanie.
Hello.
Hi Melanie. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much
so much
for joining us today. Now, can you tell us a wee bit about White Rabbit, how you launched it and what the brand really is all about?
Yeah, certainly. So White Rabbit's actually been going for 12 years. Well, it'll be 12 years next month. And I always call myself a bit of an inadvertent entrepreneur because growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Well, I cycled through all these different things. Like I wanted to be like a horse riding instructor and a marine biologist. And then I did go to university, but I was actually studying history. So a lot of people think, oh, if you've got a skincare brand, then were you studying chemistry or formulations and whatever? And I'm like, no, it was history. And it was actually, I chose that purely because it interested me basically. But it was whilst I was at university that I noticed that I was coming out, particularly on like my elbows and things, with this like rash, like really itchy red rash. And I went to the doctor, and if I'm honest, I was kind of just told, yeah, it's psoriasis, here's some steroid creams, on you go.
Yeah.
There wasn't any like context round about it, there wasn't any like reason for it. So
often there's no like long-term plan for it. It's just...
No, exactly. So I think nowadays things are a bit better in terms of, well, a lot of people do their own research into why these things happen, but I had to do that for myself. So I went away, discovered that psoriasis is an autoimmune, the psoriasis that you see on your skin is almost a side effect or a symptom of the kind of autoimmune condition. So there isn't a cure for it as such. So I thought to myself, right, I have to use these steroid creams for like 3 weeks, but I've not to use them any longer than that. Why is that? Then discovered that, you know, your skin's your largest organ and it does absorb a huge amount of what you put onto into your bloodstream. Like, you'll know yourself, Claire, the exact amount is debated. There's... Because I used to put out, I can't remember what percentage I used to say in like my like socials and things, I would say like X amount and people would be like, no, it's not that. But like there's no denying you do absorb a certain amount into your bloodstream. So basically my thinking was, right, if I've got this skin condition, you know, there isn't a cure for it, but I want to manage the symptoms in terms of like, I don't want to be going about with this could be really, really painful, itchy skin. Yeah, managing the condition, which is, I've since discovered, is hereditary as well as stress related. So I do get self-conscious because I do still get flare-ups, and sometimes I think, oh goodness, like, you know, I've got a skincare company and people are going to think, how have you still got this skin condition?
By the way, that resonates so much. Like, see, when I have a breakout or anything, I am just like, but I run a skincare company. How on earth can I do it? But actually, that's just reality of skin. So yeah, resonate with that so much.
Yeah.
And I know in the one of your last podcasts, you were talking about how like skin and skin conditions, it's like full body wellness. It's not just about topical things that you put on your skin. So like, as well as skincare, I'm also like a personal trainer and a health coach because I'm interested in the kind of full body wellness. But that's a side note. So going back to how I started, so I started literally in I wish I had photos of it, but I had this tiny little galley kitchen in my first flat that I had with my ex-partner. And I literally got a make your own skincare book, and I was making up these, like the recipes that were in this book. And again, it was just for myself, but then, you know, like I think it was my dad was like, oh, I've got this, you know, rash on my skin, can I try it and whatever. And then my mum had actually heard an advert for what was the Prince's Trust at the time, you know, wanting to boost small businesses. And I thought, all right, I'll go for it. Because at the time I was literally printing out the labels for the products in my little, again, my basic like desktop printer and stuff, and it was all very cottage core, but
it was quite an era.
I wish I'd taken. You don't think at the time, but I didn't really take many photos and things because I was just again, it was just something for me. It wasn't really. I didn't intend for it to be.
You weren't thinking, you know, like 10 years down the line that this would be great, like founder content for TikTok, which didn't even exist at that point.
And social media wasn't. I think I think Instagram, God, I'm really showing my age now, but Instagram had just became a thing.
Yeah.
And when I look back at some of my stories, I'm cringing because I'm like, I was so cheesy. But yeah, so I got a grant through the Princess Trust, which then enabled me to work with a local like graphic design company. So this is actually the branding that you see here today. It's the second kind of iteration. So the first round was, if I can find the old designs, I'll send you them. But it was very cute, if I say so myself, and it certainly lasted us a good few years. But it enabled me to get the products that I had at the time, the kind of small range, like tested, so we could obviously like sell them. And the rest, as they say, is history. So for the first 2 years, it was very much a sort of side hustle, I would say. But then I got let go from my job. It was just before Christmas 2016. I'll never forget it. And I think my boss at the time thought that this was like absolute catastrophe. But I burst. She was so confused because I burst out laughing and I went, I have been waiting for the perfect time to do White Rabbit full time, and I just feel like the universe was just like, oh, for goodness sake, and just
Yeah,
made it happen.
say that,
made
that
it happen.
sometimes like,
So
the universe will give you signs, and then it'll give you other signs, and then eventually it'll just kind of like slap you in the face and be like, listen.
Yes. So here we are, 10 years, and we've just hit 20,000 orders later.
Yeah.
So
what products did you actually start out with then? What was your kind of hero product back then?
So my very, very first one, it was at the time, it was called the Comfort Cleansing Balm. It's now the Eucalyptus and Lavender Cleansing Balm. So it's like a solid to oil formula. And I feel like a lot of like independent brands always start out with like a balm.
Yeah,
it's usually a balm and an oil. But I had the balm, which again in a really random twist of fate, Caroline Hirons, she's skincare queen. It's still on her blog actually. If you search White Rabbit Skincare Cleansing Balm, she did a review of the balm.
Amazing. Wow.
And actually you can probably see the original branding then, and I kind of cringe about that. But she compared it to, I think it was an Eve Lom balm at the time.
Amazing.
So that was amazing because that was a real boost that really helped. So I started with the balm. I'm pretty sure it was the Rose Hip and Camellia moisturiser and the toner, and then it's just kind of grown from there. So
you spoke about your struggles with psoriasis. How did that shape your philosophy on, like ingredients and formulation and things like that?
Well, my thinking was, if there isn't a cure for psoriasis, I would rather personally manage the symptoms using, like as natural ingredients as possible. And again, natural's a bit of a lot of people have a bone of contention about that, because they'll say like, like technically things like essential oils are chemicals and whatever. But to me, it was all, when I think of natural, I think of, like the plant-based, minimally like processed as such. And like low synthetics if possible. Because actually one of the, and I keep meaning to make some social content on it, but I had a question recently from someone who said, can you please explain why your products cost more but you have, and she put it, less ingredients in? And I had to explain to her that a lot of these, like if you go into a big supermarket and you buy like a £2 moisturiser, they can price it at that because they're literally buying the ingredients in like thousands and thousands of litres at a time, and they use a lot of filler ingredients and so on and so forth.
Thickeners and things like that as well. It's the same with food as well.
Yeah,
exactly what I was
exactly.
thinking.
So it is a bit like with food. If you go into a supermarket, like all of the organic stuff is so much more expensive than non. And again, I'd try and use organic where I can in the products as well.
Yeah. Are there specific ingredients you think people with certain skin conditions should avoid, as whether it's like fragrance, or is there anything else that you think people should avoid?
It's a funny one because, again, people can be reactive to even like the natural ingredients. So again, like the essential oils, I would, if possible, avoid like your artificial fragrances and colourings, because personally I think there's no need for them. So why would you like firstly put that into a product if there's no need for it? But I always say to people, whether you're trying our products for the first time or any new skincare product, please do a patch test, because
that's really important.
As I say, just because the product's natural doesn't mean that you might not have a reaction to it. Because my mum, she can't, well, she could if I didn't make it with it in it, but she can't use the cleansing balm because she's allergic to rosemary, and it's got the rosemary essential oil in it.
Wow, that's quite a random thing to be
I know,
allergic to.
I know. So yeah.
You have been stalked by major retailers. Can you tell us a wee bit about that and what is actually involved in that as well?
Well, I've actually had my eyes open because you kind of get starry-eyed around a lot of these things. You think, oh, a big retailer, this is amazing. But what it actually comes down to is, if I'm quite honest, they don't care about you. They don't care that you're a small brand. Yeah. And yes, it's amazing if you get into these brands and, you know, you can use it for promotional purposes. But if you aren't, what I found personally is if you're not known, like whether it's on socials or whatever, people, especially when it comes to skincare, they're very loyal to skincare. So see if they go into a shop and they've not heard of like White Rabbit, for example, they'll maybe be like, yeah, that looks nice, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's going to work for me. Why am I going to part with my hard-earned money if I don't know if it's going to work for me? So yes, we have been in, we were in House of Fraser when it was still going. I think that was one of our biggest, like the kind of first big one we were in. We were very fortunate to be approached by Harrods H Beauty when they opened up in Edinburgh. And we were on the shelves next to like Vive, which was amazing. I'll never forget the day like going in and seeing like my products on the shelves there. But and I don't know if things have changed because I've not actually been into the one in Silverburn yet. I don't know if they're still doing a similar thing, but I felt like the small brands got a bit lost amongst like the big brands. Because you know when it's like you go into these shops and it's like your senses are just overwhelmed by like the colours and the scents and all the lights and everything. So
yeah, like
I think, and I said to you, Claire, like when we spoke, like what you're doing with GlowFound is amazing, and it's what I like to think I manifested you, because it's what I have been looking for, like that sort of showcase of independent brands. Because I know I'm biased because I've like my brand is good, but there's so many other amazing independent brands out there, but people don't know about them.
Yeah.
So
and I think when you were talking about Harrods Beauty, and it's quite hard because it actually builds a lot of credibility being asked to be in there because you have to have a certain standard. So it's amazing. But actually your brand positioning then changes because you're then, like you say, if you're going to the one in Edinburgh, your first thing you hit is Charlotte Tilbury. I get distracted there quite easily. And then the rest of the store is quite hard to find. So, and I think
also all these counters have their own staff as well and things like that as well, which you're obviously not going to have.
And they've got, and like everybody, like so we take, say, Charlotte Tilbury, everybody knows the story, everybody knows they know it, whereas actually the social media part of it is where you really get to know White Rabbit as the founder and what it's about, whereas it's hard to compete with that. But it's great for like create credibility and it shows the quality of the products. But yeah, it's quite a challenging space to be in. So yeah, but no, I'm glad we're working together because when we met, I was like, I think you're too big for us.
I know. I've been telling everyone that. I was like, you'll never guess what she said.
You can have that in your bio.
I know, because at the moment it's literally. I mean, I work with like. I've got someone that's working on like the Pinterest for me, but as the core group, it's literally just me and my mum at the minute. So I'm still making the products, basically everything that's not processing orders because that's mum's bag. But
she takes control of that.
yeah, and it's been quite a interesting journey in the sense of, because when I was working with a external marketing company, they kept pushing for, give the professional image of like you are a bigger company than you are, and whereas I've found, especially in recent months even, that people are they become very invested in like who you are as a person, and they like to know about what's going on and the kind of realness. I mean, I know what I'm like. I love seeing the behind the scenes of everything. So even before I came here, I was on your Instagram seeing what was happening.
So that brings me on to, because you have really leaned into the kind of founder content, which we absolutely love. But how have you found that people have responded to that? I take it that's gone down really well.
So there was a video a couple of weeks ago that I literally chose to make like off the cuff, where I'm actually quite embarrassed looking back 'cause I've got like my blinking rebounder trampoline in the background and my office is a riot. But sometimes, and I'd actually asked one of my customers who's now became one of my good friends what she thought I should do. I said to her, as a customer or like a follower on social media, do you think me going on and like asking for help or explaining what's happening and saying how things are quite like tough at the moment, do you think that would not appeal to people, but like would it turn them off or whatever? Would they just rather see the sort of the nice glossy perfectness? And she said, no, I think, what was it she said? She said people would be really, really annoyed if, heaven forbid, like White Rabbit had to close down, right, because of whatever reason. They would be really annoyed if that had happened and you hadn't asked them for help. So, and she described it as like, she was like, put out your bat signal and just say, you've got this tribe of people who really like you, really like your products, so just
actually
ask
want
them
to support you as well. That's the thing, not just the brand.
Yeah, and it is incredible. Like, and it's not just me and my brand. It's even things like the fire that happened in Glasgow. Like people like coming together and like supporting other people. Like they don't know them, but they want to help. So.
I think just always as a founder, kind of showing that transparency as well, people really resonate with that because it's so easy to look, on social media and, anyone who has a business, you compare yourself to other people and you think, oh my God, they're doing all these amazing things and why are we not doing this? And, actually it's really amazing to see people just being like, you know what, this is not as polished and as glamorous as it looks online as well. People really resonate with that.
Yeah, or it's easy.
Yeah,
like I think a lot of people think, oh, it looks like it's easy and it's fun, and you go, there's bits of it that is really fun, but a lot of it's a hard slog.
I know. I'll admit I do struggle quite a bit with the whole comparison thing, and I've had to actually mute a lot of accounts that I was, whether it's other small businesses or like your bigger ones like your Grace Beverly and whatever else, because originally I was following them for inspiration. And don't get me wrong, like I do, on good days I do still get inspired, but there are days, when you have a bit of a like down day and you do think like, why is this not happening for me the way it's happening for them? And but it's quite mad how we see ourselves, because the amount of people that my friends will say to me like they couldn't do what I'm doing and run a business and whatever, and I don't see that. Like I don't know, and I don't know what I'm waiting for. I don't know what moment I'm waiting for to turn around and go, right, I'm finally proud of myself and I've done it. Like
I think when you're just always thinking of all the things that you haven't done, I think even just as women, we're really bad at actually giving ourselves credit for all the things that you have done, because you're just so focused on all these things that you haven't done that have been sitting on your to-do list.
And if you hit one milestone, you're like, oh, that's great, but like now let's just move on to the next one. And I feel like we don't always take a minute just to be like, right, we've got to where we wanted to be. Or when you look back and you think, imagine like 10 years ago me thought we'd be here.
I know.
In a podcast studio.
I know.
The podcast even existed.
I know, did it even exist? I don't know. So I think sometimes we do need to take a minute just to be like, we actually did get here before you move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And that's what I would say, like, to anyone that's starting a business or like yourselves, like just starting GlowFound, like do celebrate, even if you think something's a small win, it's still a win, because that's why I'm making such a big thing about the reaching the 20,000 orders, because I'm like that kind of like tick box exercise. I'm like, oh, I've done that, right, move on to the next thing, and rather than appreciating it for what it is.
Yeah. Amazing. So what advice would you give any other small beauty brands in terms of, growing online and kind of building that respected brand?
I think it does come back to the whole being yourself, being true to yourself. Because there's the only way that you're going to stand out is if yes, you can have a quality product, but there's so many brands out there. There's so many social media pages out there. And if you try and be like everyone else, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Yep.
So it's quite sad actually that it's taken me nearly 12 years in business to realise, like, just to be, because I've tried all the like the trends and whatever, and it's just flopped. And what's actually done the best is like me being real and being given the true behind the scenes as such, not some curated footage.
So you share a lot of the kind of like highs and lows behind your business, but what has been the kind of like toughest moment you would say in running a brand?
There has been a few. I would say one of the biggest things for me, and I know for a lot of small businesses, is like cash flow issues. So it's just trying to manage everything, and like I will admit it's taken me again quite a few years to kind of, because like finance and things isn't my forte, and I do have a bookkeeper and accountant, but for in terms of like the day-to-day running, I was quite guilty for a while of just like not checking my bank account and stuff and just like ordering things. And depending on like your like your website or payment provider, it's not like, yes, you might do X amount of turnover in a month, but it's not like in the first of the month you just get that amount and then that lasts you. All like it's literally all coming and going. It is literally cash flow. So there have been times where I have had no money in the bank. I've had to like empty my own personal savings and put it into the business, and I've had like really, really like tough like conversations with, like, for example, the bank, with them saying like, do you think this is a viable business? And I'm like, yes, well, we have been going for 12 years. We've got an established customer base. We do have turnover. I can't, that's one thing I can be confident about. But see, when someone asks you that, it's like really, really tough.
It's your worst fear, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It's so personal. Because it's like, they're like, do you actually back yourself?
Yeah.
A little bit, it feels like, and they're questioning whether you're like,
Well, that's the
right.
thing. And I did actually get quite angry at one point. Like, the wee man on the phone, God love him, like, he was really nice, but we were on the phone for about 2 hours, and at the end he went, "You're going to get through this," and I was like, "Yes, I will. Thank you for believing in me." But I did actually have to really stand up for myself and say, because they're only asking the question that they've got on their sheet and they've got to ask and things. But he was like, "But why? Like, why is this money went here, and why is this?" And you feel like you're going in circles and you're constantly repeating yourself, but you do have to be like, no, if one thing I know that I've got as a viable business, we're just going through a tough moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about, having your own business. When, you don't have a boss and everyone's like, oh, this is great, you work for yourself. But also sometimes it would be nice to have someone be like, right, okay, so this is my plans. How do I get there? And it's really hard. And you really need to learn the hard way,
Yes.
like what not to do sometimes. Like, that's your most valuable lessons, is sometimes doing things wrong and things going, pear-shaped, for you to actually be like, right, okay, this is what I need to do going forward.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of my... So I'm very fortunate. I do have like business mentors and things, and we were actually talking about that recently, about me potentially getting like, well, they called it a co-founder, but obviously I've been going for 12 years, so it's not a co-founder, but just someone who is that like sounding board, because you're right, there are days where I'm like, I just wish someone else could just make all the decisions and someone else could deal with the
It's like decision
emails
fatigue sometimes as well, isn't it? Yeah.
But I suppose that's part of the learning process, because there have been times where I've made the wrong decisions and things, and maybe things haven't like worked out. But I suppose you don't learn or grow until you make these mistakes as such.
Definitely. So sustainability is obviously a huge buzzword, and I know it's something that you're really passionate about as well. What does that actually look like in the day-to-day running of your business?
So firstly, when we make the products, we currently work to like small batch production. So that means that we've always got enough products to cover the orders, but they're not like sitting on the shelves or whatever. We also, again, going back to the whole idea of like these companies that order ingredients in like huge amounts and things, we kind of keep it quite like lean, but also things like the packaging as well. So we are not plastic free, but we do have like the plastic, you can order products with like the screw caps and then swap them out for the plastic lids and things. We also offer a return and reuse scheme. So if the products can get sent back to us, and if they can be cleaned and they're suitable, we'll reuse
That's
them
amazing.
again.
That's really cool.
So I want, like, my next goal is to move into like refills, but that's taking a wee bit to work out yet. But
Yeah.
that's the next stage.
Yeah. So what is next for White Rabbit? Where do you see the brand growing, and what's your kind of ambitions for it?
That's always an interesting question and quite a tough one, because it's something that I weirdly I really struggle with. And I don't know if it's because I've spent not my whole life, but the whole life of White Rabbit just, try to get through one day after another.
Yeah.
But if you'd asked me, a few years ago, I would have said I want to be in some big retailer, but now I'm focused on like I want to grow like organically in terms of like the reach of the website. I want more people to know about the brand and be using it, because that's the thing, like when going back to the whole idea of like loyalty and things, when people do try the products, they do then tend to like switch and become very loyal. So it's just getting as many products into as many people's hands as possible.
And what are your kind of like hero products? Have you got like one product that kind of like people just cannot get enough of, or is it just the whole range really?
Generally, it's quite a good spread, but at the moment, we've got a moisturiser called the Coconut and Rosehip Calming Cream. So originally, I had made it with like, like acne, problematic skin in mind, but it tends to be, it covers a multitude of things. Like my cousin said that when she had sunburn, it helps with calm the sunburn. My sister used it as like a bump moisturiser when she was pregnant with my niece. So it's going down really well. The eye cream as well, as I would say, like top three, it'd be the calming cream, the eye cream, and the cleansing balm at the moment.
So in terms of GlowFind, the first product that we are going to be using is the eye cream, is that right?
Yeah, so in April, we're going to test, every GlowFind Collective member gets to test the White Rabbit eye cream. Yeah. So, because that retails for like $24.99, and Collective members, they pay $8.99 a month, and they would get that sent to them, which I think is a bit of a bargain.
That is.
Yes.
Right? So
Have you thought this through, Claire?
I know, I really didn't. So that's what we're going to test, and then in April we're going to add on the glycolic cleansing. We're going to do the toner, and then just going to start with the eye cream. So we're going to start with like the trio. And that's going to go in April. But we will be doing an April event, so that will also be exclusively there for people to try, which I'm so excited about. We're actually trying to work out what our April event is going to be.
Yes, we're excited.
So yeah, I'm really excited to be working together.
Yeah.
It's nice just to work with more Scottish brands.
Yeah. And I think when you can like put a face to the brand and things like that as well, it really makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I feel like, because like you say, we're all kind of in the same kind of size, you kind of go through the same type of struggles, so, and the same type of issues, so it's nice to have a bit of like a community.
Yes.
That's like one of the things longer term I'd quite like to do with GlowFound, is it's not just a community for like people trying skincare, but maybe getting like the Scottish brands together.
Yep.
And actually then it's like a bit of a network for those people as well. That's like my longer term.
Yes,
vision.
I think nowadays it is more about collaboration than seeing people as like competitors, and therefore, there's so much knowledge and experience that can be shared amongst founders, and there's enough room for everyone really to exist,
exactly.
isn't there?
Exactly.
So we ask every guest, what does self-care look like for you? So what would self-care, your ideal self-care day look like?
That's again not one that I've been very good at them recently, but ideally it would be obviously doing my skincare. Then I love snuggling up on the sofa. I've got 2 cats. One of them is more cuddly than the other, Jack. So snuggling up on the sofa and watching just like a switch off programme. So I loved season 4 of Bridgerton?
Oh my goodness. But did you see the skin on Bridgerton? Like, so like Francesca's skin is it's glass skin. I'm like, I really need to know what her routine is.
I know.
Drop the details.
Yeah. And is it got any of the White Rabbit stuff in it?
So that is your ideal.
Yes, it's very
self-care,
basic.
just keeping it simple.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Mel, and we are really excited to be stocking White Rabbit in April.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So don't forget, you'll be able to shop the White Rabbit collection on glowfound.com, and if you're not following us already on socials, make sure you check them out at GlowFound Official. That's it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us.